Champions. Jamie's gone Liverpool. Gary's gone Arsenal. Why Arsenal, Gary?
I couldn't separate Arsenal, City or Liverpool. I think they're absolutely all in with equal chance of winning it. So I've got no certainty at all that Arsenal are going to win it, but they've been consistent over the last 3 years. They've been second. I do feel they'll get there at some point. Liverpool, watching them Friday night, I saw Carragher's point. The two fullbacks have got to settle in. They look a little bit open. They're going to be exhilarating to watch. They're going to score a lot of goals. City look like with Reinders, and if Rodri can come back and if they can keep Stones and Diaz fit with Haaland up front, they've got an unbelievable spine. So honestly, I couldn't separate them. So I just went for the team that I've been going for the last 3 years, feeling that they're very reliable.
Happen at some stage.
No, they're reliable and solid, and they're consistent, which I think is important.
Can you win a title being reliable and solid?
Well, they're consistently getting sort of high points totals and finishing second to great teams, Liverpool and City. So I think that for me, they've improved themselves. Gyökeres, I wasn't actually negative about Gyökeres at all yesterday. I saw some things in that game. I thought that De Ligt did well against him, so I thought De Ligt had a fantastic match. But there were moments where he was a bit uncomfortable with him, he was wrestling with him, and I think he'll do well for Arsenal. So Zubimendi didn't have his best game yesterday, but again, I think he'll slot in well. Declan Rice couldn't have been any worse yesterday. I think Arsenal have got the right material. They just have to sort that forward bit of the pitch out, and I think Gyökeres will.
Jamie, are you more or less confident on Liverpool given what you've seen on this opening weekend?
Less confident. It's not just the opening weekend, it was the Community Shield. It was a pre-season game against AC Milan. When I saw them things that I saw in the Community Shield, which is still a semi-friendly, if you like, I didn't think I'd see it on Friday night. That's what worried me a little bit, that I'm sure the manager's been speaking to the players in pre-season on the back of the Milan game, you know, the Community Shield, and to see it sort of not 3 games running, but the 3 high-profile games, if you like, up until this stage. That did worry me a little bit. But I think if Liverpool fix that, they have got great firepower. There's no doubt about that.
You're not certain about them, though, are you?
I just said that right at the start of the answer.
No, I wasn't. Don't get on the defensive.
I'm not getting on the defensive. You just listen to what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying to us?
I've said that. Sure. I think I said a few days ago that I thought Arsenal would be Liverpool's biggest challengers. And I know it's only one game. Watching Arsenal the weekend, and listen, I thought it was a great result for Arsenal. But just the way they played was almost typical sort of Arsenal of last season. You know, win with a set piece, which is fine. The name of the game is winning games. But it'll be interesting over the next few weeks if we see them sort of open up a little bit more, create more chances and see how maybe they've evolved from last season. But I was really impressed with Manchester City. And I actually think it might be Manchester City who are Liverpool's closest challengers.
OK, well, Liverpool fans are probably a little bit more confident than you are, Jamie, I think. Because Sky Sports has partnered with Fanalysis, an app where verified true fans known as Fanlists share their opinions on their club. Guess what percentage of Liverpool fans think they are going to win the league?
92%.
Oh, that's pretty close.
What is it?
That's low.
They're feeling pessimistic. It's 95.
Is it?
95% of Liverpool fans.
But if I was a Liverpool fan, I'd be thinking, because to be fair, I can't separate the top 3. And if I was Liverpool and they're going to get Isak, it looks like, then I'd be absolutely, you know, who are the 5% that are saying they won't win the league?
Me.
13%, incidentally, of Manchester United fans think that they will finish in the top 4.
13%.
13%.
OK.
Have we got 1% here?
Of course we have. I can't disappoint you. Honestly. I've got to come back here in 10 months and try and defend this.
I genuinely didn't know your answer to that.
So Dave, we worked out before that I've done this now for 8 years and I've always had Manchester United in the top 4 every year. And just, it's a late change, but I think with a bit of science.
Go on, what's the science?
Well, last season, I remember watching Chelsea on the first game of the season, and at that point, no one had Chelsea, I think, finishing in the top 4 or 5. And I watched them against City and thought I saw something. I thought, that's not bad, that will do damage this season. That's a good team. And when I watched United yesterday, I thought the performance was very good. And I think they'll get a goalkeeper. I absolutely am banking. They'll not make the mistake of not getting a goalkeeper. And when they bring a goalkeeper in, and you've got those players up front that they had yesterday with that back line, I think with the 3 weeks that they've got and no Champions League football, no Europa League, I think Manchester United will surprise a few people. Last week I had them 6th to 8th. But I have changed my mind over this week. I thought that performance yesterday was a really good performance. I genuinely liked it. They were high energy. We saw some stats before. It's the first time they've kept a higher possession, or the first time they've kept 60% possession against the top 3 team for 10 years. I think they won 70% of the duels yesterday. First time they've done that for 9 years. 22 shots on target. They haven't done that for about 11 years against the top 3. That was a dominant performance against the top 3 team. When United have beat top 3 teams in the last 5, 6, 7 years, it's always been smash and grab, sitting back, counter-attack, pinch a goal. That yesterday, they lost, but I value performance. I really value performance. If you perform like that, you'll win a lot of football matches. So for me, maybe it's a little bit of bias because of who I support, but I thought I saw something yesterday similar to what I saw last season with Chelsea when they lost to City. I thought Chelsea will be a good side this season, and I'm not sure Chelsea are going to find it as easy with the World Club Championships, the European games, all the demands of that. I think United will just sneak in with Liverpool and City.
When you hear those compelling arguments, are you thinking, I wish I had Man United instead of Chelsea in my top 4?
No. No. I think you've got to be very careful of getting carried away about one performance. And don't forget, they didn't win the game, they lost. And at no stage in the game did I think Manchester United were going to score a goal yesterday. I get what Gary's saying. I did think they played really well. Best I've seen them for a long time. There was pace, there was energy in the team. I think the front players they bought have got something, no doubt. But no, even though they had a lot of shots and we just seen David Raya make lots of saves, I didn't feel at any stage Man United were going to score a goal. And I just think that's a big jump from, 15th last season to 4th. I don't see that. And also, if I'm being honest, the manager's still got a lot to prove, really. And I think there's a lot of managers in this league who've done a lot more than he has in his... I think he's had about 40 games now for Man United. You think of Eddie Howe, think of Unai Emery.
There've been a lot this summer. That's been the real feature of this Premier League summer, hasn't it? The amount of new players they've come in. Jamie's gone with Wirtz and Gyökeres for Gary. Interesting. What did you make of his debut at Manchester United and the discussion that sort of followed afterwards around him?
Look, I thought he made some runs. I didn't think he was found at times. I didn't think they played passes into him or crosses into him that suited him. I thought he caused De Ligt problems in moments in the game. I thought De Ligt had a brilliant game against him and really man-marked him well. I think he'll cause massive issues. He's what Arsenal need up there. He's what they need. Look, was he brilliant yesterday? No, but I think that for me, I saw things that would mean that it was his first game in the Premier League away at Old Trafford. Going to Manchester United for teams from London like Arsenal and Chelsea, it's tough. Just like it is for Manchester teams going to Arsenal and Chelsea. It's bloody hard work to come up to Manchester and up to Merseyside and win and play well. You know, Thierry Henry used to come to Old Trafford and sometimes not get a kick. That happened quite a bit. The idea that he's gone there yesterday in a tough game, I think he did all right.
Go on, I was going to ask you about Wirtz.
I just think it's a deal that is probably brilliant for the Premier League in that, I mean, how often do we see a player not go to Bayern Munich from the Bundesliga who looks like the top player? They always go to Bayern Munich. So for Liverpool to get that deal done, I think was fantastic. And he got brought off on Friday night and probably wasn't at his absolute best, but he still had some silky, lovely touches that he just, when you go and watch him play, there's something there. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with him sort of next weekend. I'm already thinking of the Liverpool team next Monday. I think he might actually play as always the false nine, or Liverpool don't go there actually with a striker with him playing there. But no, I think with Kevin De Bruyne going, we needed a superstar in that position to come into the league, and I think he might be that.
Player to watch, we were thinking on the lines of, a young player that may have just arrived or is coming through. And we asked our finalists to recommend one, finalists of each club to recommend somebody that might help our guys make their choice. So we sort of gave you this list, gentlemen, and let's just let people soak that in for a second. There might be some unfamiliar names to one or two. Tierno Barry, we didn't get to see too much of. His time will come in an Everton shirt. Anton Stach, we saw taking corners for Leeds United this evening. Let's have a look then. Let's move on to what they have gone for off that list. Truffert, the new left-back for Bournemouth, and Estevao, who made quite an impact, Jamie, without scoring or creating an assist for Chelsea yesterday.
Well, I think he's already got Brazil caps. I think I'm right in saying that. He was fantastic in the Club World Cup against Chelsea. A few weeks ago as well. So I think at the end of the game, all the players are coming up to him, talking to him. He came on yesterday. I watched the Chelsea game yesterday, and he made a difference when he came on, and he looks pretty special. I think in a few pre-season games as well in the last couple of weeks that they've played well. He's done particularly well as well.
He looks such a baby, doesn't he?
Yeah,
He's just 18. But...
And he looked... What I saw from Chelsea's wide players, and I've had this criticism of Chelsea when they bring in players in, that sometimes I don't feel like there's been that much of an upgrade. It's almost like swapping for swapping's sake. But listen, he's still a young player. He's obviously not the finished article, but he does look like one of them where you're thinking, I don't think it'll be too long before he's first choice, where he feels like he has to play. And it almost felt like they had to bring him on at the weekend. And he made a difference. So, I think he's probably got a decent chance of being involved on Friday night.
Potential superstar. His first interview, by the way, he did speak to Natalie Jedra after the game on Sunday, and you can see that on Sky Sports YouTube channel right now, or when we've finished. Truffert, caught your eye?
Yeah, I was going to go for Reinders because he was outstanding, but I think it would be probably too obvious after what we saw at the weekend. But actually, I was watching Bournemouth-Liverpool on Friday night. I have to say that if you're looking at a left-back on the pitch that was the best one, it was the one wearing the Bournemouth shirt.
The one that replaced Carragher.
Carragher looked, like he was a little bit rash. Obviously, his first game at Anfield, so you've got to get time for him to settle in. But Truffert was absolutely brilliant, and I couldn't take my eyes off him.
Is that the model of a very well-run football club?
Yeah.
That you try and sell high and you get the next one in?
Yeah,
straight
and
away.
Look, Carragher was outstanding, wasn't he, for Bournemouth? And obviously Liverpool had their eyes on him for a long time, just to sort of take over from Andy Robertson. I think Andy Robertson's going to play a lot of football this season, and I think Truffert will really emerge. He looked outstanding on Friday night, I felt.
So there are your players to watch. What about a manager to perhaps outperform expectations in this Premier League season?
Why are you laughing?
You pick the Man United manager every year on that.
I don't pick him every year.
You picked 3 last year, and one of them was the man Ten Hag.
The reason last year is a similar reason to this. Ten Hag last year, because I knew that if he started badly, he'd be under massive pressure. Similarly, if Ruben Amorim, there's probably going to be no in between here. Ruben Amorim, if he starts off badly and they're in 13th, 14th in October, November, is going to be under massive pressure. He's the Manchester United manager. He has to deliver in these first few months of the season, and I think he will outperform. I think he'll emerge. I know you're not.
Outperform what? You've got them fourth.
No, well, exactly. I know you're not sure about him, and you sort of wrote your article the other day saying that you think that he's not that good. But I think that he's got. I think he did. Well, he said that basically.
Can't you read me?
What was the article about?
It was about the 2 managers, Arteta and Amorim. Amorim would be delighted if he was in Arteta's position in 3 or 4 years.
Oh, absolutely. So this season, I think the manager to watch is the United manager. All eyes are on him. Can he do it? He had a horrible start to his United career. He didn't want the job partway through last season.
Do you not think because of that he gets this season whatever happens?
Oh, no, I don't think it'll be that easy. I think if he's down in sort of, bottom half of the table, I think he'll be under massive pressure.
But what Marcus Rashford said the other day, Manchester United have got to come up with a plan and stick with it somewhere, haven't they?
Let's ignore that because I don't want to go into Marcus Rashford comments tonight. He was there at the club for 10 years, had his opportunity to impact the club. Ruben Amorim this year, I think, will do a good job. I think. So
you don't
Marcus
agree
with
whoever said it? You don't agree? Well, let's talk about Arsenal right now. A lot of questions around them, given the nature of this game at Old Trafford. They haven't been brilliant at Old Trafford over the years. Their record has improved in recent times. But Manchester United have made signings. There's a lot of excitement about that, Gary. There's a big atmosphere at Old Trafford. How impressed were you with the way they withstood it?
I thought Arsenal, both teams will come off the pitch. I was optimistic about United at the end of the game. We'll cover that later on. But I think for Arsenal, they've got that resilience and that toughness about them. That sort of there's very few teams I think that can go 1-0 up and feel comfortable in their skin to be able to focus and concentrate for the rest of the 90 minutes. And this is typical of Arsenal. They're really well drilled on set pieces. And look, we talked about this till.
Well, do you think it's a foul?
No, I don't think it's a foul. If we just take it back, so just watch Zubimendi here. If we're talking about fouls, if Manchester United want the foul on the goalkeeper, look at Zubimendi here. I mean, Cunha almost grabs him. So I think there are allowable actions in the penalty area that I think people are allowed to do. If Saliba had pushed him, I'd have said it's a foul. The fact he just nudges him and stands his ground, I mean, you see him here now, there's a bit of a wrestle going on with Mount, there's a bit of a shove from Bayandé. I think that's all's fair in love and war there. The goalkeeper has to be stronger. And the biggest mistake the goalkeeper makes is actually not his strength. I just don't understand. He's got his hand like that. Why doesn't he just clench his fist? And even if he just goes like that, a little punch, I think he gets it 5, 6, 7 yards away. It's that little flimsy hand that basically causes him the problem in the end. I know he's obviously not got himself into a good position to go and attack it, but I have no idea why he just doesn't give it a little punch.
A lot of people are talking about this now. Arsenal's results against the so-called Big Six of Manchester City, Liverpool, Manchester United, Spurs and Chelsea. They are unbeaten in those last 22 games against those sides. That starts to be some sort of impressive trend, doesn't it, Gary?
Dave, this is brilliant. This is everything that Arsenal weren't 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Everything that we wanted them to be, that we asked of them. When you think of the great Arsenal sides, they were tough. They had great back lines. They could see games out 1-0. They kept clean sheets in big matches. This is a title-winning team that have not won a title, and they've got to change that.
Is it between those three, as you see it, very different teams in Liverpool, Manchester City and Arsenal, the way they go about things?
Yeah, I mean, I think what was interesting about it, I agree with Gary. I think it's very difficult to pick who's going to win the title. I think it will be tight. I think the thing with me with Arsenal from yesterday, I thought that was a great result. Playing poorly, going to Old Trafford, new signings, big atmosphere. The two centre-backs were absolutely fantastic for me. For me, the best partnership in the Premier League. But I think on the back of Arsenal not winning the title last season, we felt that they needed to move the dial a little bit to maybe a little bit more football, a bit more creation. And that was typical Mikel Arteta that we've seen probably over the last 18 months. That was Arsenal scoring from a set piece.
Perhaps not at their best.
Not at the best, but scoring off a set piece. Not creating many chances. Really big back four, making it really tough to beat. Now, brilliant for that day, but it'll just be really interesting over the next sort of couple of months. Have Arsenal sort of moved the dial a little bit? They brought in Zubimendi to maybe play more football through the lines. They've got a striker who they think will score more goals, even though, if I'm being honest, I think they'll go back to Havertz in the biggest games. I think that will be the case.
Well, perhaps Liverpool in a fortnight's time, we'll see.
I can see Gyökeres playing and scoring goals. I think next week, I think they play Leeds. The week after, I'd be very surprised if Havertz isn't playing.
Where are they going to finish? How do they...
He can't leave Gyökeres out of big games.
He can. I think. Well, should we get into this later?
Well, I mean,
do it later.
You say that, but Šeško didn't start on
No,
Sunday.
Šeško obviously is not quite up to speed yet, and you can see obviously that he needs probably 2 or 3 weeks of
Maybe
fitness.
there's an argument that Gyökeres wasn't up to speed either.
No, but what I'm saying to you is Arsenal need a centre forward. They've brought one in. Look, I'll be honest with you, a lot of people give him a hard time for his performance yesterday. I was watching that game from a gantry. I saw things, glimpses that I thought he'll be a handful for
I think Havertz, in Mikel Arteta's eyes, is too important to him to be a player who's left out week after week. I don't see that happening.
I think he'll have to find a way to try and get him in somehow. I know it's awkward sometimes, but Martinelli does look like he's struggling. And I think maybe trying to get Havertz and Gyökeres in together might be something that he has to try.
I'm sure some of this will come up in predictions later on tonight, how they sort out that top three, as it looks like in their eyes. Arsenal, Manchester City and Liverpool. M&F predictions come your way.
And I just thought, did I see little instances of that Liverpool team?
What, a little bit of rock and roll?
Yeah, a little bit more. So going off what Pep said last season, and also the influence of Pep Linders, who is obviously very hands-on as a coach, but really good from Wolves. But what I wanted to look at here, as this pass is coming across, as it's almost there, and we just stop it there now. So that ball's on its way. I was watching the game at the weekend, I couldn't believe what I saw. The players were all jumping high up now to try and catch the Wolves players offside. Now, normally, what's really different about this is, when I played under Rafa Benitez, when that ball got there, if that player took a touch back, the back four would push up. That was something that we were sort of coached and looked at on videos from AC Milan. But this is very Liverpool-like in terms of when you copy things sometimes. Is that line too high? But they actually jump before the ball actually gets to his feet to try and catch the Wolves players offside. So we run it on now. You see the players jump forward now, really high pushing up. And again, it just made me think how much influence is maybe the new coach having on this team. So that was one instance that I seen in the game. This is another similar situation, but completely different in terms of this is from a goalkeeper's kick. So they played out initially Wolves, they've now gone long with the goalkeeper's kick. And again, we just stop it now. The players are pushing up now. I think one of the midfielders, Nico Gonzalez, has just dropped a little bit. He's trying to push up, pushing up now. That's before the header has even been challenged. Again, trying to catch the Wolves player offside. Now, what I would say about that is, I think that's risky. If Aït-Nouri does a bad header and flicks that on, the Wolves player could be in. So that could be something to look at.
You just need
in
the
the coming
shorts,
weeks.
Jamie, and then
Pardon?
You just need the white shorts, then you're blending into the screen.
I'm going to show you, Man City don't want me in there, too. But they did actually score a goal, Wolves, an offside goal. It doesn't count as a goal, obviously, but Manchester City catching. Look at John Stones painfully stepping up, just gaining that extra yard on the Wolves play here. It's almost, it felt like in the game, it was almost like a little bit of an obsession, certainly in the first half, about catching them offside. And it just made me think,
is it dangerous?
Listen, it could be, but it worked really good. But it was something...
It's really good play. I mean, we've played centre-back, I played in the defence. To get a back four and unit in sync like that, I tell you, it takes some doing. That's really good play from John Stones.
But we always know Pep's teams like to push up. We get all that, but that was something a little bit different. And it just makes me think the influence of Pep Linders in terms of the offside. And then we run it on now, it goes in, that's the goal. So they catch them offside, an offside goal. So you're right, Gary, a lot of work has gone into that. But when you think of Liverpool as well, just keeping back to Pep Linders, the amount of counter-attacking goals that Liverpool team would score with sort of Mane and Salah, you know, breaking forward. And it just, when I looked at the goal from Reinders, it was an absolute revelation, you know, in the game. He was fantastic. But one of the goals, Pep Linders, Pep Guardiola, he's given him the thanks, the hug. Now, we don't know exactly what that's for, but I don't think it's a coincidence with some of the things that I saw in the game, that he, as a coach, is having a big influence on Pep Guardiola.
So that was a little bit about the defensive system, the counter-attacks, and Pep Guardiola actually lent on that in his post-match press briefing. This is what he had to say.
We punish them in transition because we have incredible pace. With Tijani, with Oscar, with Erling, with Oman at the end, we have good pace. It's a weapon that we want to use this season when we're getting the ball attack quicker than maybe before.
Interesting. So where do you see Manchester City now, Gary, given these tactical tweaks that Jamie's referenced there, that Pep Guardiola has talked about, and this sort of blending in of new faces, some signed in January, a couple in the summer as well?
Yeah, watching that game on Saturday is a little bit, oh, did we just forget about the obvious? Pep Guardiola, if he loses a title, he'll win it back. He wins titles nearly every single year he's coached in his career. And when you saw Reinders on Saturday, and you think of Rodri to come back in, you think of Stones and Diaz, Haaland up front. That's a spine and a half. That's a title-winning spine. It's a treble-winning spine with a manager who's prolific. So I can't separate City, Arsenal and Liverpool. I know I'm going to have to later on tonight. But honestly, at this moment in time, City, I think, just off what they've seen on Saturday, they keep the players fit. They could be really in business.
All right, well, let's talk.
The excitement before the match for Arsenal supporters was that they were going to see their new £64 million signing Victor Gyökeres in action in a Premier League match. The Gunners have come into this season with a new direct style that they are hoping will get the best out of the Sweden striker, and be the difference in them lifting a trophy during this campaign. Gyökeres' main attributes are using his power and strength to burst through the centre-backs, and boss Mikel Arteta is trying to increase the amount of chances he gets. However, Gyökeres is lacking in match sharpness and has only been back in full training since signing for Arsenal, after he did not attend Sporting's preseason while he looked to force through a move. There were occasions when the 27-year-old was played into promising positions, but it looks as though it will take time for the players to get used to their new system and for him to build up the fitness he needs to become a key part of the Arsenal attack. It was not the debut Gyökeres would have dreamed about, and the forward was jeered off by the United supporters when he was replaced by Kai Havertz in the 60th minute. The usually reliable Arsenal defence did not settle and had some shaky moments during the match, Manchester United able to create chances with direct passes behind the visitors' defence. Calafiori is important to the Arsenal attack due to his unpredictability on the ball, but his runs into midfield and further up the pitch left Mbeumo in space, and that also caused problems for the Arsenal backline. Arteta will be pleased to get off to a winning start, but there is a lot for the manager to work on before their next game.